And the next thing I want to do is put in some text. So I'm going to click on the text tool here and then go over onto the screen and put a message. So I'm just going to click, and that will start to give me a text box I can start to write in. Now I'm going to show you some information around text boxes. I'm just going to open the properties box, and there are some settings here. So the three I'm going to look at is called static, dynamic, and input. So the static basically just means it's text and it's typed to the screen. You can't do anything to it. The input is fairly self-explanatory. It's an input box, so you can put in information such as a person's name. You can have a question and the person types an answer. So there's lots of things that you can use an input box. They input it into the program. And the dynamic is where you can display different information. So it might be the result of a calculation or the result of an input, the result of clicking a button. So it changes depending on what the user does or what the user inputs and the program behind it. So we're just going to use the one called static. So I'm just going to make sure static is clicked. I'm down here, and our title could possibly be something like Welcome to the Movie Show. So I'm just going to type that in. So there we have our title, Welcome to the Movie Show. If I bring it towards the top here somewhere, you can see that it's a little bit hard when you've got backgrounds because the information changes a little bit. So yeah, part of the background here is white, you lose the information. So actually what I'm going to do here is put a bit of a shadow. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to copy what I've already got there, and I'm going to change the color of that one. So if I select all in there and I go back to my properties, sorry, I closed that one off. Go back to my properties and color down here. I'm going to make the color black. So it kind of disappears, but remember I copied it, so I'm just going to use a paste in place, and basically what I'll do is I'll paste the other one I just had directly over the top, but I'm actually going to move it. I'm using my left, right, up, down arrow keys, and I'm just going to move it up a little bit, and moves it up 2, pushes the button, and I move it across 2. So you can see it kind of stands out a little bit more. So here you have your information of welcome to the movie show, and we could type more information in here with lots of different things. So what I'm going to do now, I've moved some of my windows. I'm actually going to go to the United frame, and in here I'm going to type some information. You could go to the you could get information from the internet, etc. For this thing. So I was just going to do another text box. Drag it out. Again, you've got to be conscious of the color of the text that you're using and where you're going to locate it. This one actually at the moment has a white box behind it, so you can change what's behind it through the preferences. So there are ways of changing that. This one has a border around it, so by putting a border around it, it actually makes it white, so it'll be easier to see. So for your multimedia presentation, you can have here at the moment, you can have text. We've got some graphics. So I'm going to show you one more thing, and for this one I've already created a slideshow. You look down in here, there's a component called slideshow, and I'm just going to bring it down to the bottom corner, and probably a little bit small, so I'm going to make it bigger. Remember to go to transform, scale. Let's again make this 200, and we'll put it over here. So this is actually a slideshow. So here at the moment I have a little bit of information, a back button. So what I'm going to do is make the movie. There's my sound. If I click on United, I come in, I have some information on United. but I also have this animation here displaying. Now, you have created animations in the previous topic, so you could do this by using some of the skills that you use there. The final thing I want to do is make this a little bit more interactive to respond to the user. So we're going to go back to using text boxes. So I'm just going to click on the text tool. I'm going to make sure that I'm on the first frame, and what I want to do here is create a text box, but this time I want it to be an input box. So I'm going to change that to input. So this will mean that it'll be a box that the person can type into. The other thing that I want to do here is actually give it a name. So this is part of the programming. So I'm going to call this input underscore txt for text. So that'll become our input box. The next thing I want to do is come to the frame with United on it, and I want to create another box here, but this time I want it to be a dynamic. Dynamic, as I said, is one that can change and things can be entered into it. Again, I need to name it up here with the instance name. I'm going to call this one output underscore text, and that's where the message will go to. Now I'm going to go to the actions of the frame, and I need to type some information in. Now we already have some information with regards to the button going. Now I've added some extra code. If I come to the top, I've added a bit of code here, and it's called var myText :string. So what that means is var is a variable, something that changes. Here's the name. So every time I call back, every time I ask for my text, it'll give whatever I've typed in. String just means letters, characters, numbers. Now I've added something else in here. I'll just delete that one out. They don't need it twice. Now I've added something in here, capture text. Now this is actually a function. It's basically saying go off and do something else. And then I've added this one here, function capture text void my text equals input. Now remember, we had a text box called input underscore text, which is that one that we created on the screen. So what will happen when the person types some information in here, it'll come here and gather this. So as I said, what you need to do is at the top add this variable my text underscore string. Down in the button script you need to add this capture text, and then on the bottom you need to do this. Now if you're going to make this work for all the other buttons, in the other buttons all you need to do is this little bit here. So if you're making the Hoyts button, for example, so that it'll gather the information typed in it, you just need to, in the Hoyts button, put this little bit, and it'll keep coming down to the other bit of code. Alright, the last thing I need to do is come back to my United frame. Now I have my text box here called output text. Now you just need a little bit of message. Welcome. So output text txt.text basically means it's words equals welcome plus. Now remember, this bit was a variable, my text. The plus basically means add on something. So welcome, and if I type in a name, Fred, it should say that. So I'm going to test it. Message. Click there. Oh, sorry, my text box is not quite big enough. Let's come back into the United one. I need the arrow tool. I'm going to make this one bigger. Let's come back and try again. Click OK. There we go. We have a welcome message. Becomes a little bit more interactive. Okay, what would be good if you could program up all the other buttons. So in your timeline, Down here, create some more keyframes so that they can that you can have new things in there. And as I said, I tend to leave it so there's about 10 frames, just so that you can have a bit of space to do the labeling. I didn't show you this, I'll show you right now, but if you want to label the frame, so I'm just creating a few keyframes, but if I want to label the frame in the properties box, I can label it. So this might be Hoyts, for example, so that'll be the Hoyts screen. Have another one here for the information, so again you can have the information. So I'll insert a keyframe because the Hoyts frame will be different. Now if I've put all the information in, if I'm creating a keyframe, it just copies it all across, so I can just come in here. Welcome to Hoyts. The buttons are already there, so again you can this one you don't need a keyframe because you want the back button to be on all of them, so I just insert a normal frame, and you'll notice down here the back button is already there. So if I just create a normal frame, the same for this one, I want the background to continue, so I just insert a frame, so the background will continue, my animation will continue, so most of it will stay the same. Now the one thing I do want to do is, it got really annoying keep going back to this title screen and having the music play. So I think it'd be good if it came on in the first instance, but in later instances I think it'd be better if it didn't play all the time. So what I actually did is went in here and made a keyframe. What you need to do, what I'm doing is, you'll have all your buttons, so I'm going to copy this code for this, in this case it's United, but you'll have all the buttons. You'll have United, Dendy, Hoyts, etc. So I'm going to copy that and I'm going to put it into here. Now ActionScript doesn't like it where you have the same function name, and this is a function. So I'm just going to call this one 22. I'm going to call this 22. I don't need the capture text because we've already captured it the first time, and I'm hoping that Flash will remember it. I'm going to play the program. Movie show, type in Bill, click on United, welcome Bill, click the back. It's gone to frame 2 this time, not frame 1, so no noise. Click on the button, welcome Bill, so this one works. So as I said, program up all the other buttons, have a bit of a play with it, see what you can work out. And the other thing is, if you really want to have a look at some of the other things that are going on, have a look at some of these different coding here. So you've got fade in movie clips, you've got animates, and even do a Google search on how to do some of these different things. You have videos, click to play and stop, so you can create your own buttons to do a pause or a stop all sounds. That could be something you'd use on there when that annoying noise continues to play. Alright, hopefully this helps you create a Flash document for your multimedia presentation. If you've got any questions, please ask, or always use Google to find out some more.